Hello everyone and welcome back to RetroB8. I really hope you guys had a great Christmas and New Year, but as all good things come to an end, it's now time to get back down to business and look at the best games that I played from 1988. And kicking us off in 10th place for 1988 is the absolute classic R-Type. It was published by Electric Dreams and developed by Rainbow Arts, and of course the music is from none other than Chris Hulsbeck himself. I always did enjoy a good shoot 'em up when I was a kid, and of course everyone had heard of R-Type, and I was absolutely buzzing to get this game. Now, a lot of people say that the multi-load was definitely a negative for them. However, back in those days I was remarkably bad at games, and to be fair, I don't even think I got off the first level, so I never experienced the nightmare of the multi-load. In 9th, we've got Outrun. Now, there's going to be some puzzled faces out there, and I get it, okay? Nowadays, looking back, I can see that Outrun wasn't a particularly great conversion. However, back then, I just had a lot more imagination. I thought the music was class in this game. It's a game that I really used to enjoy playing. Of course, being on an 8-bit system, a lot was taken out of the game. I think where you could choose which way you wanted to go, that had to be gone. The graphics, yeah, they're a little bit blocky, the sound effects are annoying, but still, it just has that charm, and it definitely has that nostalgia, reminding me of what it was like to be a kid. Every now and again in these lists we come across a game that was released as a budget. Most of the time these games weren't that great, however, every now and again we come across an absolute classic, and Zamara in 8th place is one of those classics. Do not miss this game because it is class. Now do not let the smooth animation and those beautiful graphics get you into a false sense of security. This is a tough game and you're going to need a lot of practice to get anywhere in it. Budget games are apparently a little bit like buses. You wait for one and then you get two at the same time. Of course, this is Battle Valley in 7th, and again, this is another class budget release from Racket, otherwise known as Houston. Now, the first thing to mention is, you know if you've been watching this channel for quite a while, that I love my Sid music, and this has some of the best, and it's by one of the best, by Gerontel. This game really has got it all. It's got an excellent on-screen display, colourful, detailed backgrounds, beautifully animated sprites, it's got great music. This game is definitely one that you need to try out. In 6th, we've got Batman, the Cap Crusader, which of course is an Ocean release. One thing just to note, and that I can't show in this video, is the amazing artwork, which is by the main man, Bob Wakelin himself. I'm sure many of you guys out there used to watch Batman on a morning before you started school. You know, the one with Adam West, and this really does remind me of that Batman. Especially, I love the comic book style when you go in between screens. One thing I think they got right about this game is that it's 50% detective work and 50% fighting, just like in the series. And now we're into the top 5, and we've got MicroPro Soccer, or Keith Van Ehren's Pro Soccer, the catchy title it was known by in the US. This was an early forerunner to a very popular football or soccer game on the Amiga, because of course MicroPro Soccer was developed by Sensible Software. Personally, I've always preferred like a side-on view to my football games. However, I do make an exception for MicroPro Soccer because it is that bloody good. In fact, I'd almost go as far to say that I do prefer the Commodore 64 version over the Amiga. In 4th, we have Impossible Mission 2 from Epix, which of course was the sequel to Impossible Mission, one of my most nostalgic games ever on the Commodore 64. I've got some bad news for you, because if you found Impossible Mission hard, then you are not going to enjoy this, because this pushes difficulty into the most frustrating territory possible. This game is solid. I think the graphics are awesome, there's definitely great sprite animation and the tremendous attention to detail in the backdrops. It's got a nice little title tune, but of course, the sound for me, the best bit, has to be the speech effects. Finally, we get to the top 3, and here we are with The Last Ninja 2, back with a vengeance. I can imagine that this game is probably number 1 for a lot of you people watching this video. However, for me, this was more of a technical showcase for the Commodore 64, and the game itself I found incredibly difficult and frustrating to play. However, even with those negatives, it still makes it into the top 3. The game has a little bit of everything. It's got fighting, it's got puzzle elements, it's got 6 levels that are all drawn absolutely stunning, and of course you have the music from Matt Gray, which in my opinion is probably the best on the Commodore 64. Just missing out on top spot, and I mean just missing out on top spot, is Operation Wolf. This, at the time, was one of my favourite arcade games ever. The fact that you could stand there with an Uzi 9mm with a kicking back recoil, I felt just like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Commando. I found this game incredibly enjoyable. It's a game where you don't really have to think about what you're doing, it's just an action-packed blaster. Yeah, as I've mentioned before, you had to use your imagination a little bit, but hey, this was back in 1988. I was only a kid back then, and I still had bags of the stuff. And here it is, number 1. It's Emlyn Hughes International Soccer. Now, this makes it to number 1 purely down to the amount of time I played this game, because I played this game for hours and hours and hours on end. It was pretty much the only game I played for probably 6 months. It took a long time to learn how to play it, but once you did, it was just one of the most amazing football games to play. The presentation is absolutely superb. There's so many options that pretty much allow you to reconfigure the game any way you want to play it. The graphics are beautiful, the gameplay is fast. Just what more could you want from a football game on your Commodore 64? Wow, 1985 really was an awesome year for us Commodore 64 gamers back in the day. If the Commodore 64 and the Amiga are your kind of thing, then please like and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss future content. I really hope you've enjoyed this video, and until next time, goodbye.